Welcome back to the Water from the Rock podcast. This is our happy hour special with our guest. Jeremy Schwartz is back.
Where's the bourbon? If this is
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, we didn't really get to it in the main episode, but you did some work with Iron Smoke or whatever. So if you guys are looking for a good bourbon, check out Iron Smoke. They're here locally in Fairport, and they've got some really good bourbon. Hence the name Smoke. So it's like a smoky style bourbon. Yeah, it's good stuff or whatever. So be sure to check those guys out.
Brunette and his crew of distillers over there have done some magic.
Awesome stuff. Maybe you could be our secret plug. Maybe we can get those guys on and have a great conversation at some point.
More talented people with more talented
Awesome.
people.
Absolutely.
So usually, as we mentioned briefly off camera just a second ago, we're huge Game of Thrones fans, right? As you mentioned, you are as well, or have you? And we like to ask our guests, if you could be any character from Game of Thrones, which character would you go with?
So first, we'll share.
Yeah.
Me myself, I pick Brianna Tarth with her loyalty to the Stark family and just the respect that she garnered throughout Westeros. So,
and I went with Tyrion.
Oh.
Tyrion Lannister.
Okay.
That little bastard just survived everything. he survived everything. He went through a lot. Like, now granted, I wouldn't want to go through all the things that he went through or whatever, but like he found a way to survive and weasel his way through every situation. Yeah, killed his dad. He probably could have did without that part. But I mean, that guy was Tywin. He's a monster. So that's kind of where we're at with things or what have you. So where would you say you're at?
Okay, so you mentioned this to me, and I took a couple of those quizzes, and I got some weird results. One told me that I was Daenerys.
He was doing homework.
Yeah, I was like, I better, I love the show, but I was like, man, it's been a little
so
while.
Many characters, right? There's so many characters.
But, so many storylines.
I'm not trying to bite off of you, but I also wanted to go with Tyrion.
Okay.
And it was mainly because I loved his loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
He had loyalty to his brother. He had loyalty, to the Dragon Queen.
Mm-hmm.
But also his creativity. Like you said, he was a survivor. He came up with some wild solutions, like that Battle of Blackwater.
Yeah.
He was
didn't get any credit for it.
And kind of against all odds.
That's true.
Said, he was a survivor.
his own family or his dad hated him.
Yeah.
What he lacked in stature, he made up for in brilliance.
I mean, could you think about that? I mean, in real medieval times, someone of his stature would probably have been easily discarded.
That's true.
He was running the joint. So I really appreciate that about him.
Yeah. For me, I enjoy reading a lot of strategy books. And I would say, probably without question, my favorite author, Robert Greene. He wrote the 48 Laws of Power, 33 Strategies of War, Mastery, Laws of Human Nature, all of those cool, great books, great reads, by the way. And I think that Tyrion epitomizes that strategy of like survival, right? And resilience, right? And so, like I said, for everything that he lacks in stature, he knew that. And he mentions that in the very early on seasons of, I was never going to be a knight. I don't have the looks that my brother has. I don't have the height. I don't have the build, so because they were making fun, like, you read, you're always reading. He's like, I have to, because my brain is what's going to, help me to survive. And so, like you said, even being born in those times, he'd have been a castaway. They would have, thrown, and even his dad says, I would have thrown you in the river, but you're my son.
He leaned into his strengths, for sure.
Yeah. So,
and obviously trustworthy, where the Dragon Queen Daenerys, she trusted him to be her hand. And good pick.
How would you apply some of those tactics, or could you see how, his survival instincts and his strategy, then could you see yourself like applying that in your everyday work life currently? So to speak. I mean, obviously without all the violence, and the brothels.
Yeah. It's not that's the fun thing about this business is like no one dies doing advertising.
Right. Very, very,
it's
very
not
minimal
life or
risk.
death, thankfully. But like kind of what we were talking about a little bit like earlier. there's new technologies, new tools that
Mhm.
we have to master.
Sure.
again. And I think like a Tyrion would see these tools at his disposal and start applying them in new ways.
And
I think
evolve.
that's exactly what I'm trying to do now, and I'm getting into it slowly,
Sure.
but yeah, like time will tell how I'm affected and change and how the business is
Right,
going to be
right.
impacted.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Really quickly then, so Tyrion, great choice. You have two other founding partners at the Truth Collective. They weren't able to make it, so we'll put you on the spot for them and ask which two characters would you see them?
Okay, I
as?
might need your help because it's been a little while.
Sure,
Okay,
go for
okay.
it. Go for
since
it.
I watched it. But like John is like our wizard. He's our truth teller. He finds the insights. He finds the magic.
So that would be
So you guys help me trying to think.
Wizard and so he would be more along the lines of like a maester, would you say?
Yeah.
Maybe like a maester? Or
literally
or
because they literally help people. They make I guess something out of nothing.
maybe we would go with Tarly, Samuel Tarly.
Is that
Jon Snow's friend.
Yeah.
He was kind of like, I mean,
he became a maester at the
he
end.
became a
He
maester.
was
Sam.
a little bit more humble than my partner.
Well, see, I've never met John. I was gonna say maybe without being, like punked and bullied so much, but like just his
but
brain.
At the end of the day, he played some pretty key roles, and he offered
Absolutely.
a lot. So yeah,
That's
was
a
able-
good
he-
thought. That's a good one.
Yeah,
Because
if
I
you think
forgot about
he was
Sam.
able to find like the idea that Dragon Glass was able to kill the White Walkers and things of that nature. So he's able to like find this like insight, like, oh, this is what you guys need to do. So
Yep.
maybe a Samuel Tarly I could see John.
And then my partner Bob, he's a strategist in the way of like business, and he's a relationship builder, and he's a motivator for like, he's the guy. He's like a coach in our business, where he really knows the right thing to say to our team to really get the morale and the culture moving.
Yeah.
I think he's a real
Jon
voice of
Snow?
reason.
Jon Snow, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say a Jon Snow
Because
or
he was a great leader.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even when he
And-
didn't
and-
want to
and-
be.
and building relationships.
Yeah.
And John was able to foster all these relationships
kept
and
those
bring all of these
relationships,
people
right.
together, even when the wildlings, they didn't want to get in bed with anybody north of the wall, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Now, unfortunately, his life didn't go too far.
No.
That's what was so unbelievable about watching that show. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
did they just get rid of the main character?
What? Oh, you're right. Yeah. Oh, his dad.
Ned Stark.
His dad, Ned Stark.
Oh, Ned. Oh, yeah.
But I was gonna say,
I was gonna say Ned as well.
interchangeably, either Jon Snow or Ned Stark,
Yeah,
where he knew died in the
That's
Yeah,
first
because
season.
Ned was.
the father.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's what I
yeah,
was thinking
yeah.
initially before you said Jon Snow was Ned Stark, but I'm like, yeah, he didn't live long. But I mean, for the most part, he was that honorable relationships. People sought him. I mean, it cost him his life because the king was essentially forcing him. He's like, no, I know you don't want to do this, but that's exactly why I need you to be this guy for me.
Well, how about this? I'm gonna watch the whole series again. I'll come back and
There you go, man. Listen, I told Freeman we watch it. We my better half and I we go through it at least. We try to at least once a year.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
So you're
and-
really into it. So
He knows
I've
a
literally
lot
only seen
more
it
than me.
Yeah.
one time.
Me-
Through.
Oh
Same-
yeah,
same
no, it was and it was crazy because it was one of those things when it initially came out. I was stationed in Pensacola. I think it just came back from Japan, and I was never really into it. Like I'm like dragons.
Yeah.
Pfft, are you kidding me? Like Fremel and I, we joke. I always said to myself, I'm never watching or getting into another series after Sopranos went off
Right.
because I hate the way it ended.
Right.
It was like, sure, like a create your own ending. It's like, no, you're getting ratings from us for you to do that for us, right? And so I was pissed with the way Sopranos ended. I was like, I'll never watch another series. And then Game of Thrones are like dragons. I'm like, oh, dragons, really? Nobody watches dragons. You're an adult, grow up. But when I watched that first episode, I'm like, whoa.
I was in the same boat. I was filming a
I was
commercial.
hooked. I was hooked.
I was out in LA on production, and I was staying with a buddy who lived out there, and he mentioned the show, and I was like, I don't know, like I've never been that
Same
big
here.
into fantasy. And he said, just watch it, and he turned it on, and I watched it, and I was like, yeah, I could get.
All right, now I got to see
Yeah,
episode
and
2.
I remember coming
Yeah,
back
yeah,
telling
well-
my wife was like, "There's a show we're gonna watch."
Well, and Berta, she kept saying, she was like, just watch the pilot, just watch the pilot, just watch the pilot. And I'm watching, I'm like, okay, it's growing, it's building. And when Jamie pushed him out of the window, I'm like, oh,
this is real.
This has
Yeah,
got real.
yeah,
This has
yeah.
got real. Which I'm gonna go
Ironically.
back and edit. John could potentially be Bran Stark, the brother.
Mhm.
And then from the Witcher, like the seeing all.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like now that I think about it, he could be the brother, the you know,
And
seeing
he ended
things
up,
and
yeah.
Mhm.
being
I'm
able to
gonna
predict
ask
the
him.
future.
I'm gonna ask him that question because he was also a big Game of
Awesome. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll jump on like a Zoom with him and record, like get his response at some point or whatever. Well, Jeremy, again, man, thank you so much for
Yeah.
taking the time
Much
to
appreciated.
hang with us. Again, we sincerely
thanks for
appreciate it.
having me. It's a real
And,
pleasure. And nothing but the best for this podcast.
Yeah, thank you,
and what you
thank
guys
you.
are doing in your lives. It's
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sincerely appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
well,
much appreciated.
and with that, guys, thanks for tuning in for a quick happy hour special.
Out.
And we'll catch you guys next time. All right.
Peace.
Peace.